Hello from the other side. This is River, and welcome to the Adam online program in December, which is the last season curated by Angela Go. And this year, Adam has been disseminating online events with international artists and professionals to continuously exchange during the pandemic and its related phenomenons. And in the last season, curated by Angela Go, the event is entitled "Time Dresses Up as a Ghost and Arrives to the Party Tripping." I made it. Yeah, and so this section is a little bit different from others that Ange and I will have a very integrated roles of hosting, or basically me hosting, yeah, the conversation program with previous editions of Adam Artist. And in this section, yes, what I'm going to do, yeah, introduce, yeah. And so I'm gonna introduce Angela, and Angela will introduce this program. Angela Go is a dancer and choreographer based in Sydney, Australia. She has been working across contexts of visual and performing arts, dealing with phenomenons or systems of post anthropocene and techno capitalism and planarity and so on. And Angela was the Adam artist in the Artist Lab residency program in 2018, and then she returned to the Adam 2019 to present a work in progress project with um, Sui Xin, Taiwanese artist who was the fellow of the Adam Artist Lab in 2018. So Adam has been creating a chain of continuously supporting and welcome artists back to engage with new ideas or new inventions. So now I'm gonna pass the floor to Ange.
Hello, thank you, River. Thank you, TPAC and Adam, for having me. Um, I am joining today from Gadigal in Sydney, and yes, as River said, I'm an artist and dancer and choreographer. Um, and I curated this program based on asking friends to join and share things that they were already doing that could be sort of uh, learnt more about by sharing. And then when the discussion we were having, when River invited me to curate, and River sort of was quite interested in the timing of this program being at the end of 2021 and in December, and trying to think around these ideas of what does it mean to end something and start something, and where do we go from here, considering the last 2 years that we've had and faced. And maybe I think, River, you're suggesting that I curate to that theme, and I said, oh, River, why don't you just lead a session around that? But then then we thought, oh, it's also nice to have like a New Year's resolution party. And okay, so yeah, then I introduced River. So River Lin is an artist based between Taiwan and France, working across the context of visual art, performance, and dance. River Lin stages the artist's body with surroundings as live exhibitions through situation, choreography, and participation. His performance process examines immaterial labor, historical texts, queer culture, and the notion of expanded choreography. Um, and River has presented his work many places in the world and is also a friend. Um, and the artist of this session. And so then there are many joining us. So maybe River, do you want to run through everyone that's joining us, or we just go around and say who we are?
Yes, I think it would be nice if all the invited artists here could tell us who you are, where you're from, and your little history with Adam. Shall we do like a chronological order? No, because that would be Henry first.
Ding
Okay.
Yun first. No, yes. Ding Yun.
Okay, Ding Yun or Henry, do you want to go ahead?
Okay. Since nobody wants to be the first, okay. I'm Huang Dingyun, and now I'm in Taipei, Taiwan, and I'm a theater practitioner and performing artist, maybe. And I have a team called Cocoism, 明日和合制作所, and with 2 other my colleagues, and we're mostly working in Taipei. And Adam and I was in the first audition in 2017 as a participant artist, and the second audition in 2018. If I get the wrong year, please correct me. 2018 as a facilitator and guest curator to to join in this lab. Yeah, Henry.
Okay, I'm Henry Tan. I'm based in Bangkok. I'm members of Freak Lab and Metaforest Japan. I'm not sure how should I describe my disciplines, but I also create this performative experience installations. Yeah, someone already typed it in the message box. I was also an artist in the Adam Artist Lab in 2017, and then 2018 I was invited to co-curate and facilitate the lab together with Ding Yun. And then that year we were exploring the concept of the performativity of the in-betweens. And then in 2019 we were invited back to execute or to create, propose the island bar in our own versions, right? And then in 2019 we also present another project from our collaboration with Future Taos, which is the project called the Song of Naga Cave, where we try to put everyone to sleep and then spray everyone with the smell of the cave and earth and all other stuff, right? And yeah, it's 2020. We did something, right?
You did something.
We did something together. The octopuses.
In other version of Island Bar.
Yes, it's in another version of Island Bar. We also present the project called the octopuses. Yeah, because we try to meet each other in the digital worlds. We transfer ourselves into octopus. See, I think that's it for us. I think. Next, please.
So, Suni or Batu Natsuki?
I can go. Yeah. Hey, I'm Batu. I'm an Istanbul Turkish artist. I usually do performance art and mostly durational and interaction based. I was invited to the Artist Lab in 2018. Ding Yun and Henry were our curators and facilitators, and it was a grand time. I really had great fun. Yeah, that's, I guess somebody's typing my stuff also on the text box, so you can find more information in the chat box about me. And I'm really glad to be here and seeing familiar faces. And yeah, that's it.
Suni, do you want to go ahead?
Okay, I can. So hi, I'm Suni. So I'm theater maker, based in Kaohsiung, but most of my pieces are not in theater. I was joined the second edition of Adam with Badu Natsuki together, and the third edition was curated by Natsuki, and me and JK, we co-facilitate third edition. Natsuki.
Okay, thank you, Sunny. I'm Natsuki from Japan. I'm a playwright, or recently I call myself a theater maker. And my background is theater, but recent 10 years I've been working on community-based projects outside theater, for example, in public spaces or the private spaces of the people. And I participated Adam Artist Lab in 2018 as an artist, and I met all of you, almost of you, and it was very fun. It was a great time for me also. And next year in 2019, I came back to Taipei as a guest curator of Artist Lab, luckily. And I asked Suni and JK Anikoche from the Philippines to facilitate together. And we designed and facilitated the program together as a team. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yasin?
It's me who's left. My name is Yasin. I'm from Bulgaria. I'm educated as a playwright and dramaturg in the theater academies of Sofia and Shanghai, and I work in the field of contemporary dance and performance, doing my own research, also working as a dramaturg or outside eye for other choreographers, and also writing a lot of texts and reviews or essays, and collaborating with Springback magazine, the magazine of Aerowaves, the contemporary dance.
Is my internet or Yasin's internet?
Yeah, yes, it just froze. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
That happens.
We can read more in the chat box. There's a
Yeah.
biography and introduction.
Sorry,
in
I
there.
think you lost me, huh?
Yeah, we lost you a little bit.
Sorry. Yeah, there's something with my connection. I'm trying to switch it to the...
You're frozen again. That's okay. It's okay. Is that all right, Yasin?
Yes, I don't know what you heard from my presentation, but I hope you can read. It's okay.
Right. I think yeah, we have copy and paste your short biography in the chat box. Do you want to add anything else, or
yeah, I don't know.
or it's okay for now?
I don't know what you heard from what I said, so I think it's okay.
Okay. Thank you, Yasin. Right. Dingyun suggests perhaps you could turn off your camera for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And yeah, in this New Year's slash solution is basically based on a wish, my personal wish of catching up with friends and colleagues around the previous Adam, because COVID, that it seems that we are not really able to see each other from far or from near again that easily. So, and I thought it could be a nice moment at the end of this year, inviting the artists here to reflect on lives, like personally and professionally, before, during the COVID, and how uh, each of us as a cultural worker, as an artist, or as a person would like to foresee or to imagine the very near future, which is 2022. Yeah. And because this sensibility of being confused by the time was really also based on the personal COVID experiences of lockdown and traveling between France and Taiwan, and to see like the configuration of different countries, or at least between Taiwan and France, that has been very weird. Like you feel the time space and space have been twisted, and all of our personal lives and professional careers, of course, also be infected. And I wonder like how we could talk about it, and I feel that we can talk about it. Yes. So that's basically the idea of and the framework of this gathering. So we are basically having conversations about now and maybe near future. Yeah. And so because it's a casual catch up um, program or sharing online. So the online audience members, you are very welcome to respond or to join the chat if you want, and or propose any kind of questions during our conversation. Yeah. So I think maybe where we can let me think where we can begin from. Um, um, Ange, it's been it's been more than a year that recently Australia has reopened the border, and uh, how do you feel about that after a very long travel restriction inside the country?
Yes. So Australia's international border was closed for more than 18 months. So you couldn't come in or go out. Of course, sometimes there was exceptions, but you have to apply and go through a process of exceptions to either come in or to leave. So, I mean, I think it was just I kind of course, I understand that strategy, and at the same time, it was quite a very different setup for me, who is sort of very used to like a hyper mobility of traveling for work and being in many different places. I think in 2019 I was not in Australia at all. I was traveling, doing my work between Europe, the States, and Asia in different times. So I spent the whole year on the road. So then it was a really different environment to just be in one place. And at the beginning, I thought like, oh, okay, well, that sure, maybe maybe my career is finished now. Like maybe, you know, that was nice because I didn't really understand how it would be possible to maintain to be able to work in one place, and how that would work. Yeah, but then it's actually been, for me, I've been very fortunate because there's been a lot of opportunities in Sydney that that have come about, so that maybe that possibly might not have otherwise, just by being in the same place. And I've been sometimes unlucky with timing of things getting cancelled or postponed, and other times very lucky of fitting projects in between our lockdowns here. But I feel great that the border is open again. I feel like what seemed like maybe a necessary measure seemed to begin to become like, well, this is not a reality. This can't be a reality going forward forever. So at some point it has to open again, of course. Yeah, that's my answer, I think.
And during the very long lectional border closure, how have you felt about the transformation of the local art ecosystem there in Australia? For example, the government might have put more funding programs to support local artists, or perhaps also with digital transformation or digital force. Have you also adapt your practice?
A couple of things were adapted. I know for sure across the board, across the kind of artistic field, many things were adapted to digital things, like some things I think more successfully than others. I think there's a general fatigue here and probably everywhere, for online things. Like in some ways I just wish to like close my computer forever. And like, because we've just come out of a lockdown recently, there's been a return to the theaters, and it was like I felt ecstatic after seeing something live again, and I was like, oh yeah, this is great. Like I've seen some really good things also online that were necessary, but in the end I think like, oh gosh, it really is so nice to be together. Not even like, both for the aspect of the performances, yeah, mostly for the kind of actual audience encounter of like being together, like even to see something like a film, for example, like to see a film but to be together, seeing that, like this kind of gathering, the possibility to actually gather around something is such a different engagement. Like if you think about watching a movie on your like dirty laptop where like the speakers are a bit shit and you're like kind of half in your bed by yourself, is like even so different to seeing the same movie in a cinema with a group of people. It's just like there's something about that I feel I have an extra appreciation for. And I think that there's a bit like yeah, I just feel that there will be like a bit of yeah, PTSD around like watching, like engaging online, that feels like it will fuel when things open again, that it will fuel this kind of like really intense desire for in-person encounters, and live encounters, and kind of encounters in a group, dancing in a group, singing in a group, doing things in a group that feel very not both special but also like utterly necessary somehow, is my opinion.
How about Batu and Yasin in Turkey and Bulgaria? How was the lockdown situation, and And how have you felt about the reopening of everything this year?
I mean, we kind of started to do this lockdown around January 2020, I guess, in Turkey, and it was pretty severe when it first started. I mean, I remember, I mean, there was a strict no, I mean, home confinement rule in Turkey, so we were kind of trapped inside. I was kind of okay with that, actually. I mean, personally, because I'm an academic, and teaching was part of my life apart from the performance and the artists and everything. And it was kind of nice to teach in my pajamas. I mean, for a year or so, that was kind of okay. I mean, like an early retirement. So I was happy at first. I mean, it's hard to say that somehow, because it was terrible in Turkey, basically. But I mean, somehow I endured, and I moved my practice completely online, and my collective had this huge exhibition called Stay Live at Home. Around 100 artists, we tried to do stuff just online. So it was, I mean, at first, I guess it's just, you can describe this in this four stages of grief periods. First, you're in denial, then you're in, stuff, bargaining and everything. And now that we're kind of open, actually, because I went to a concert, a metal concert, without any masks and anything, and it was in a tent. I mean, kind of closed, if you ask me. I mean, I was a bit terrified, but I tried to risk it. The theaters are open. I mean, we still have the mask mandate, but I mean, people are getting more relaxed. And I don't know, I guess the vaccines are working. I'm not sure, actually, but I mean, what I can describe is people had enough, I guess, and some, mostly older people, decided just to risk it, basically, because I see my people are my age, like 30s and 40s, being really careful. They have children, they have, stuff they do care a lot more about than older people who are basically can't be bothered to wear a mask. And just, I mean, even in the most severe lockdown, there were periods of time where people were allowed to go outside for a couple of hours, and based on age criteria. And most uh, elderly people actually just went out without masks, and got, sitting around and doing stuff. I don't know, I guess it's a psychological thing. I don't have any expertise on that. But now that we're kind of open, actually, and I don't think Turkish government would mandate another lockdown anytime soon, because we have some financial troubles in Turkey. I mean, the economy is wrecked, basically. So, I mean, even with the Omicron virus, I don't think there's going to be any change. And as an artist, I mean, now, I mean, the exhibitions they started opening, and people trying to get back to a normalcy before the pandemic. But I don't think it's going to be the same. And I think people experience the life online pretty, I mean, often during the pandemic, and some people kind of like it. I do. I mean, I'm okay with the life online. I will be okay doing stuff online. I do believe, I mean, the art scene, as is performance scene, I mean, at least the performance art scene would accommodate more of an online approach in the coming years. I think, because I used to really like it, but I never had the chance or the, I mean, opportunity to risk doing everything online. And it's a different medium. I would say it's not the same, but you can still work with it, and you can do stuff with it. And there's uh, opportunities to be had in the online environment that local, I mean, stuff cannot. I mean, like, I mean, reaching, international audiences, and interactivity is easier in online media. So, and I like interactivity a lot. So anonymity is a huge part of the online, I mean, dynamics, and anonymity, I mean, anonymous interaction is a kind of a motivator in my field. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'm kind of optimistic, just, you know, to be clear. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling.
Yasin?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. This was really stressful, so I had to restart the computer. And unlike Batu, I'm really having a problem with this movement into the digital world for the arts. Because my interest has always been like the live human body. So for me, this is the bare minimum of what this practice in dance and performance is about. And I really hope and wish for some sort of going back to normality where we can gather again. And to answer the question of how it started and how it felt, I'm coordinating a small artist-run residency project here in Sofia. And I remember we were having this resident playwright from Syria, and we went to see a performance, like a morning performance. And during the performance, we got the announcement that all theaters will close. And it was her last day in Sofia, and basically she managed to leave later in the evening with a flight to Athens and then to Damascus, to Syria, at the end of her residency, just like 2 days before the lockdown. And this was March 13, 2020. And then we went into hard lockdown for 2 months when we had 6 cases, which I found something very good. And I thought that maybe we'll be able to, keep it at 0 and eliminate it. But then there was a lot of pressure from businesses and from different groups in society to open up because of the economy. And so I spent a few months, I think, being really angry that Taiwan is not the role model for the Western world of how to deal with the pandemic. And there was this discourse all the time that, what Asian countries are doing is they're doing because they're not democracies. And so I would always bring up Taiwan as like the example. No, you can be a democracy and still like take care of public health. So I was, really frustrated with the way that Western countries kind of left the virus go through the population and hope for herd immunity or like a magical pill or a vaccine that would save us all. And now we're still living the results, I think, of this decision, which some people think is connected to liberty, and I think is connected to a lack of responsibility and to some sort of really profit above all. And then we never actually had another lockdown at the end of 2020, which was like shorter. And in the summer of 2020, it felt like kind of normal. I spent a month at the seaside. There were no masks. We went to parties. Everything felt kind of like okay and safe. But, Bulgaria is like also like not very densely populated, small country, a little bit in the periphery where there's not so much international travel. So I think it was not as exposed as other places. And then in the next year, when the vaccines became available, most of the people in my circle got vaccinated. But I was also working on a project that I actually started while I was in Taipei doing the Treasure Hill residency. So I prototyped it in Taiwan, and then I got this funding to do it in Sofia, and it started with a workshop. And I think dancers really needed so much to be in physical space with each other that I got 55 people in this workshop, which was like a total, breakthrough, because workshops usually get the maximum of 10, 12 people in the dance field here. And then because of COVID, we had to do it outside. So we did a 3-day workshop outside in April when it was still like the pandemic raging and there were not everyone was vaccinated yet. So this felt like kind of really nice, I think, to be able to actually go through the work despite what was going on. And another positive or good thing about the lockdowns and the whole situation, or 2 things. One is that I kind of managed to go back to writing a little bit and slow down. And I really resonate with what Angela said, that my work so far has been really about traveling so much, which is in a really crazy pace. And so there was this sudden break or stop, and then it's allowed time for reflection. But also what was very good and totally unexpected is that the National Culture Fund, the budget went 10 times up for this year. Suddenly, the government poured so much money in the arts, which we never actually expected from our government, which was like quite conservative. And basically, the independent scene in the country got a big boost, and it was all of this was kind of framed as like saving measures, but they were saving something that didn't exist before, because before that there was actually no stable freelance scene. It was really precarious, and suddenly people could get paid for their work, and so many exhibitions, performances and stuff happened in 2021 after the vaccines. It was just like big boom, and now it seems that they are on course to continue with this, and there's a lot of European Union saving funds coming in as well. So I think this was for the independent scene in the country, really, like, the pandemic was a big positive event that completely changed the narrative, and that I think these breakthroughs wouldn't be possible if it didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And how about the situations in Japan and in Thailand? Like since last year, like how things have changed. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, oh, sorry, my baby. Sorry.
大丈夫, 大丈夫.
大丈夫.
Henry, you want to go first?
Yeah,
Or-
I can go first. Okay, the situation in Thailand. I mean, it was not good. Also, there's a protest going on for the past year. I mean, also for in 2020 as well, because we are under the military rules for 7 years already, and there are big protests from the students, and also the COVID cases keep rising. The government used the curfew at 9 p.m. as an excuse also for stopping the protesters, and the vaccine was delayed, and also many corruption case. Even the vaccine itself also have corruptions. Glove or test also have many corruption case, and the art scene was boom. The BACC
easier or
smashed. Quiet. Yeah, everyone tried to do program online, and then I also have this feeling of the fear of missing out all the program, lectures and performance and event. So I was overwhelmed myself with a lot of online program and lectures that I can attend to, but now I tend to cut it all to the minimum, right? And I think for the past 3 to 4 months, it's more people got vaccinated, and then we can see that their business can reopen again, though a lot of them already gone. Even some shop that open 24 hours are also closed. Many galleries is closed. Many business, some street it's like a zombie land. But for the past 3 months, many exhibitions is returning. Theater is opening. I mean, I can feel the energies from the cities back again. When maybe early this year, it was very empty, and then the street was quite dry and lifeless. And now we can see people. We can feel, we can sense the energy of the the bus, the train. Why everyone looks so sad now? I think so.
No, we are concentrated listening.
And I mean, I also trying to organize the residencies program where we can physically meet as well in the middle of next year. I'm planning to do that in the universities in the north, not in Bangkok. I want to go outside and then maybe live close to nature, because for the past years, I've been locked inside this my room, my block, and I couldn't see trees or breathe fresh air. I was confined, and then it was quite stressed me out. One thing definitely changed is my knees. My knees totally changed. It was weaker. Yes. And then it was injured for a few months because I mean I used to exercise and play sport every week, and then during lockdown I couldn't do anything for like 5-6 months, and then after I returned to play again, it was my knee was weak. Yeah. Natsuki.
Yeah, thank you, Henry. Last year I moved out from Tokyo to Shizuoka Prefecture. It takes about 2 to 3 hours by train and bullet train from Tokyo, and it's a kind of middle-sized local city, because the Shizuoka city government asked me to launch a new project based on the community. But it was just before the first state of emergency because of the pandemic. And so soon after that, actually, I was just in home. I couldn't meet anybody. I mean, there is there is a lot of elder people in Shizuoka, and it was very difficult for me to meet new people in the communities. And also I got pregnant, and so I actually it was kind of it was a research year of the project, but I couldn't work so much. And this year in January, I gave a birth to my son. But actually, I have had this kind of personal life drama in these 2 years, and it was very big impact for me, more than the pandemic actually. And my life has changed totally, because before that I travel around, and always I moved around because of my work. So the center of my life was work. But after that, now I focus on my baby, basically. But at the same time, I work on the new project in Shizuoka City. But it's still difficult to have a kind of the event to gather people in public spaces. So now my project is based on radio. I have a radio program every week to tell a kind of a script that the people can play by themselves. It's a kind of the script of behavior, performative behavior, the alternative behavior of the lives. And we talk to the people beyond the radio to do it every week. So my project is like that, but actually it's not come from the I don't know how to say the reason for the situation of the society, but it's more like my personal reason. because after I gave a birth to my son, I was really I became very sensitive, maybe too much sensitive, and I was very I feared going out so much, so I couldn't go out. So I just stayed at home. I didn't want to meet anybody, actually. So still, actually, for me, in Japan now, the situation is very good, much better. Maybe in Tokyo, we have about 20 cases every day, but in Shizuoka, we have 0 or 2 to 3 cases every day. So the situation is now very good, but of course the people are afraid of the next peak in winter. But anyway, the people are more, they feel safe to go out. But personally, it's a kind of, it's almost like mental disease, but I'm still afraid. So, but at the same time, I have work. I have my project to the people, to the city. So now I'm trying to find a way to a project that I can, and at the same time, I feel kind of uncomfortable about that, because the project is decided before the pandemic. So it's decided by the government. So now we are working on, because we have the time limit of 2 years, so we have to do it now. But I don't know if it's a good time for that. And also, I don't know if I really want to do it as an artist now. So I feel guilty to do it, actually. So it's like that. So today, actually, I was afraid to join it. Yeah, a little bit, because I didn't know what I can say about the art or the theater or something like that. And I don't know what I want to do now. So what I want to do is maybe just wait to find what I want to do next, like this. So actually, I don't know much about the social situation in Japan now. Maybe.
Well, you already gave us a lot of information.
Okay.
Yes. And yeah, Ding and Suni, would you like to talk about Taiwan situation last year, this year?
I can go first, because I think I have very weird personal experience. So in basically the whole 2020, I was work for Gemini Protocol. So in December, we did 100% Kaohsiung, which means while the whole world locked down, I visit everyday new people personally, face to face. And at the end, we gathered more than 100 people on the stage, and we also convinced them not to wear masks. It's a very risky decision, but I somehow, because to show on the stage and to let audience recognize who you are, I think it's quite important. And of course, we were very, very lucky, because during we interview people, they always ask us, what do you think if the pandemic went worse, if the show will be go on? And somehow, I don't know where I come from the confidence. I say, yes, we definitely will show this year. Yeah. And I think that at that time, it's because I know I heard some information from the friends in Philippines, in Europe. So for me, it's like Taiwan totally in another universe. So sometimes I feel maybe Taiwan die out already and we live in a dream or something, because it's too bizarre for me. And interesting, this year, I also, while the whole world or theater things go on digital, online, I start do more physical thing, like I learned Chinese massage, also quite before our real pandemic in Taiwan in May. So I touch real people body every week to learn how to do the massage. And also I went hiking. So I also now I just finished my first step. I learned weaving from I learned from a indigenous master. I feel that need. I need to touch something real, not just people. I need to meet people real. Also, I need to touch material real thing. And yeah, so that is quite interesting. Somehow I feel may I live in another world. Also, I feel in Taiwan is like we had overproductive problem for many years. But after pandemic time, I feel the anxiousness rise totally, because you cannot really control your productions. So in the end, so every time in the end of the year, it's too many production, exhibition, everything, and I feel we sort of live in a tireless burnout society, and no matter what happened, because I thought pandemic maybe is a time to rest. No, we don't want to rest. So in Taiwan, we want to produce more. And I wonder and I interest what that came from, because obviously everybody overwork, but they don't want to stop. So yeah. And Bing Yun, how about Taipei?
Yeah, Taipei situation is also very overproducing, too productive in a way that but it also in terms of, because Taiwan, the situation is really controlled through the whole year. And even though in May that we feel like the cases rise, and we feel like the wave of the pandemic, but it's compared with the other regions and countries, it is still very safe actually. And so to me personally, that in the beginning of the pandemic, I was in Melbourne for residency, and I was forcibly to fly back to Taipei. And in that time, I feel somehow a little bit lucky, to be honest, because in the past few years, I definitely feel that I'm overproducing works, and I feel like I need to slow down. And the situation in this condition, it's a good notification for me to slow down. And so even though in the 14 days of quarantine, I still feel like very easy, happy with my own space. Of course, some trouble with my boyfriend. He needed to deliver my food, do my laundry, and do many things to help me, because
That's great, no?
yeah, just like, okay, this is the first time I became a king or something that people can serve me. And after that, also like Sydney said, but I, in more like a positive way, I try to join a lot of online lecture and online workshop, online lab, and very similar feeling like after few months, and I feel like I really need some real interaction, some real material to touch, to really improvise with other artists, to communicate with other artists in person. And yeah, one hand is like that situation, and on the other hand, that I start to think what I really want to do, maybe related to art, but I don't have time to do. So since last year, I tried to back to school, and I attend some classes in philosophy, my philosophy, but I just audit, didn't enroll to the school, but it keep like refreshing my brain all the time. And yeah, I just follow the class, and no matter it's online or in school, and I just try to slow down and collect more thoughts. And because recently I'm very curious about cognitive science, brain science, and what is the representation experience in art. So this is a very huge field, from science to humanity. And of course, I'm not doing like scientific research or something. It's more like I try to find the artistic perspective to see what is the connection between like art and science, or art and philosophy, and blah, blah, blah. And the other experience that I try to do, try to perform, not online, but I try to sell the copyright for other production company, and in China, and try to make a little bit like Remedy Protocol or John Bell did, that I use some manual to let them to present my work. And because in the beginning, I'm very wondering that how it can be happen, especially most of my work is based on highly interactive or participatory projects. And I try to do in that way, and learn a lot of things between the back and forth discussion about the different culture of making theater. And now in this year, July, got the first premiere in Suzhou and then Shanghai and blah, blah, blah. And it's a very new experience that led me to know if the work needs to be continued and what it can be happen in certain way. Yeah, that's probably like this.
Yeah, I think all of you have touched several points that I think could be really COVID keywords in the arts, like about the phenomenon of, or the tendency of slowing down or slash slow production. And yeah, like for me, I've been also rethinking the necessity of traveling again, like partly, of course, the eco concern and eco reason, but on the other hand, it's also really more about like, yes, why we have been traveling a lot, but of course that we all have had the projects or needs of presenting works, touring works, or meeting people, doing residency, collaborating with artists from far from another continents or another cities, and when suddenly over the past a year, when you are not being able to travel and to meet people, of course you can still meet people online, but what does it mean to travel again? This has kind of like a haunting question to me, like particularly for example in France, because in the EU that you can travel within inside the EU territory, and then so you suddenly can see productions or shows or exhibitions from other countries of EU being presented in your local city. And I also felt tricky of the performing arts industry in the mainstream sectors here. For example, in Paris or in Berlin, like how much the artists would have reflected onto the ongoing COVID situation through their works. And I did see some productions that conceived or rehearsed during COVID last year. So some works of some choreographers or theater directors were really talking about now and talking about what's next, thinking the future. But also there are a lot of programs being put onto the reopen of theaters, but nothing really different from before COVID. And I kind of feel like very bizarre, like for example, just giving an example, I'm not against that artist. For example, before COVID, that in Paris, you see Robert Wilson's work, like big production. And then during COVID, and for example, a few months ago, when theater all can reopen, and you see Robert Wilson big production coming back to your city, and I was like, why we need to see this now? Is that what's the meaning to have this kind of work now, or being having a while of not going to theater again or to see performance live programs again, and suddenly I feel like you do need something new, or at least something alternative or different. And I think so what I feel is like there's a gap between this and that, like during COVID. Yeah, like how this industry can really reflect on it. I don't know if you have similar feeling with that, like why we
I
are
feel,
yeah.
I don't know if this directly answers, but this thing about like slowing down, but also the kind of necessity to touch something, touch material somehow. I'm quite curious about this. I don't know if this happened in the places that you're each in, but like people made sourdough. Did this happen in other countries? Or and I didn't do this, but I'm quite curious about this phenomenon of like many people made sourdough during lockdown, and that it seems like it just clicked to me about perhaps the reasons why. Is it's like, first off, it takes so much time, it's such a slow process, and so people, maybe there's a collective consciousness about, okay, yeah, this may be like maybe one of the silver linings of this is like, okay, we can perhaps slow down a little bit, and so it's like takes so long to make sourdough, like each step is really a long time, and so you can spend a long time to make one small loaf. And the other thing is that, like, to touch something that is also, one could argue, like live, like the like the mother or the culture or whatever it is called is alive, and so it's this kind of like you engage like with the sensation of touch of something, and then you also like eat the thing. So this kind of, it's very bodily somehow, but it's like takes so much time somehow that it makes sense to me why this was the phenomenon of, I mean, I don't think in Australia it came back in the second time, because I think people were just like, I've had enough bread. But yeah, this like desire for slower processes and somehow physical processes that makes sense to me in a way that it didn't at the time. It's totally not
Yeah,
answer to your question.
no. I'm just thinking like it's well over the I don't know. Well, for example, because I know Yasen also have been traveling recently around different cities to see things in Europe. Like I feel it's really, really weird and very twisted. Yeah.
I feel I was in the last 3 months. So for 2 years, I didn't travel at all. And in the last 3 months, I was to 6 different cities in 5 countries in Europe. And it feels it's even more intense than before the pandemic, because everything is trying to catch up.
To
So
grab your
it's-
attention and energy. Yeah.
Yeah, and to kind of overcompensate for these 2 years of blockade. And yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. I don't know how I feel about it. But actually, at the same time, I really do feel that this live encounter is really important and we need to keep it. And I have a little bit of problem with the discourse around, and it's a discourse always coming from Europe or from wealthy centers like Paris or London or Berlin, saying, okay, now we cannot support travel anymore because of the ecological footprint. But it actually kind of upholds a certain inequality, because there are artists from other regions whose only chance to continue making work within this global art circulation system is by traveling, and this system is kind of designed and imposed by these wealthy centers. And so for them to decide who can travel and who cannot, I think is very, very problematic. And yeah, and at the same time, I feel that this slow travel is just a discourse, and it's a no travel for some people and as much travel as before for a certain group of people.
I totally agree, and I'm like also that I find the discourse and the argument about the ecological footprint maybe a bit lacking in knowledge that if you replace that with something online or like streaming, or I mean that like the internet, using the internet is a huge resource ecologically, and that it's, I mean, we're like making a carbon footprint right now to have this many people live streaming all together. And so, and yeah, it's so, I mean, I don't know what the answer is in terms of the ecological impact of gathering. But I think that it's naive to think that that this, like what we're doing right now, is any better than if we were all to travel to each other and meet in person.
Yes, I agree. I do agree. Yeah. And I'm not so sure how, you know, the stronger awareness of ecological concern was stated in different city or different countries or different settings of certain cultural policies. But here in Europe, I do think it's kind of like pretty imbalanced, because on one hand, some institutions, they do care about that right before COVID, and they have been practicing ways of producing in that way. And then there's there has been a digital force, everything arriving during the COVID, and then smashing all these concepts together have become some kind of like, oh, this is the new tendency of political correct that you need to enact with, and that is something I'm not very sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like we can kind of more tangibly understand the impact when, for example, you board a plane. You can like feel it in your body, like you're experiencing in time and with your body. And I mean, here it's like I can't touch this version of it because it's like, but it doesn't mean that it's not material and physical and a complete drain on resources. Just because we call it a cloud doesn't mean that it's immaterial, and that you know, like the exchange of data is massive also. So I think, yeah, that's not for me personally, I think my opinion on that is like it's not a good enough reason, like to prevent artists from traveling to do their work and traveling to meet each other and enrich their processes and practices. I think that the argument that I can get behind is an argument that has more to do about accessibility somehow. But yeah, the I don't know, of course, like it feels terrible to be flying around all the time, especially if like, you know, the very long ones. And there's better options in terms of travel if it's land travel. But yeah, I don't know. I think that argument is a little bit not watertight. It's also a question about what do you give up then? Like, what do we get? Like, for example, tonight, say it finishes, everyone closes their computer, goes back to their life or whatever. If we were meeting, if we were all in the same place, we would be like, okay, well, where's open for food? Like, oh, let's go here. And that the exchange kind of continues outside of the actual working. But that's so much. I think we all experience this when we go to the Adam Artist Lab that happens. So it's like, actually there is no like, oh, okay, well, I clock on here and I clock off there. Like the value of all the in-between parts of being together, doing the karaoke that Ding Yun can't remember, or like moving between places, or breaking off into like a small group, like, oh, actually let's, like, you and me just go and get dinner together or something, and the exchange that happens in that off time that doesn't necessarily always continue in this version of things. That to me is like the really rich part about meeting people and coming together and also being in different places, and that is invaluable to an artist's process. I think this like encountering something outside of themselves. And somehow I think it can, you can have very meaningful exchanges, of course, online or through other means. But for me, some of the most meaningful exchanges haven't been within the confines of working or not working. It's what happens in between that is really meaningful, and the part where I feel like I feel personal growth and artistic growth.
I wonder, yeah. I mean, of course, this kind of like opportunity of physical gathering has become even more precious and valuable, and somehow that human need is also strongly connected with the entire system that we have been familiar with and suddenly unfamiliar with, and then speculating how we could really continue to gain and to offer energies between one another, person and places. And yeah, I wonder, I wonder, each of you here, like, what are you going to do next? What have you, like, because I mean, like, oh, the whole COVID situation has changed a lot of things. In fact, impact many components of your life. And if there is something that has been shifted, for example, what you would like to really taking care of more or really care about more, for as a next step, not necessarily to be put in your next project of next work, but the thinking process or your concern. Mm.
I can start if you like. Yeah. Because I really discovered something during COVID. I actually had a formal painting education, and I wasn't doing that for like 6 years perhaps. And with the downtime I had during the pandemic, I started drawing again, started doing illustrations, and I'm a big fan of tabletop role-playing games. I never had enough time to do that also, and with the pandemic again, I started doing that. And I guess, I mean, now that I've experienced it for like a year, and I had a lot of time to draw and design games and everything. Now I want to uh, do more of it. And when I heard about this meeting's name, what was it, like the New Year's resolution? Yeah, the last New Year's resolution I had was to illustrate more and make a game, and I did that. And my this year's resolution for me is to publish it basically, but it's not like a theater game. It's like a um, tabletop game module, and you can just read it and play. And this, I mean, that is why I think if you give enough time, you can rediscover stuff that you don't really have time to think about during all this, craze of producing, exhibiting, and working. I I had a great time with my wife at home, and now I started to think maybe I should quit my job and just find something that I can be at home more. I mean, all this talk about traveling, I think I like it better here, basically. I mean, I have people I can meet. I'm okay with traveling um, twice, thrice a year or something, going to residencies. That's all okay for me. And being in Turkey, it's not easy for us to travel anyway. I mean, uh, when I heard Yasan visiting 6 cities in 5 countries, it's kind of impossible. Actually, I have a friend who was invited to Finland for a film residency, and he got rejected by the embassy there, and he couldn't even leave the country. So maybe I try to adapt. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it will take at least 5 years to understand what kind of trauma we've been having right now. We don't know. Everybody has different ways to cope with it. What I did during the pandemic as a work was called Survive, and I just asked people to give me their small rituals, how they're coping with the pandemic every day. So we did these things every day. It was actually the gist of that work was the amulets I gave you guys back in I was in Taiwan. So I rebranded it and taught. I mean, made it during the pandemic for 77 days. And I guess my ritual was to draw, and it gave me something new. I had a chance to reconnect with my loved ones in a better way, like Ding Yun. But I mean, I'm the one who serves the food here, so So anyways, that's what I was trying to say. I mean, yeah, I decided to change stuff during the pandemic, and I guess for the better. Yeah, that's it.
So maybe I can follow Badu that yeah, I also thinking about games and try to learn more things about games. Both like a cardboard games or like a video games, that because somehow I feel like I really taking care about the participation or how the audience engage into my project. And so the interactive service is very important. And if in the future that we put more concern about physically get together, and somehow certain portion of our gathering will be online or in the digital service. So somehow it would be better that if I can know more things about the digital interaction, I mean, including like how to using those social app, and also about maybe we can create more different kind of interactive services, interfaces online. And recently also tried to work with the programmer to develop the different projects. And another things that I feel is I try to the way that I try to cope with the pandemic is try to learn more digital skills, actually, that I try to adopt with the situation. That and thinking like, because usually my project invite many different artists or designer to work in theater, so which means a lot of person have to work together. And recently I feel like maybe something that I can work solely, I can work in solo, or like I can do this or do this, and somehow it can also cost down a bit, and somehow they can also very like independent or studio like work, and it can be also possible. But I didn't deny the value of working collective. So Henry, don't worry about it. We keep discussing about project for years, especially within these 2 years. Like we got the common weekly meeting, or sometimes if both of us are busy, like a monthly meeting that keep continuously discuss about the future plan. And so I mean, I just shift a little bit, and also look at myself to see how, if we can learn more skill, digitalize skill, and maybe we can cope with the future situation more easier. And yeah, that is what I feel right now.
Henry, do you wanna?
It's almost time.
Talk about NFT.
No, actually, I prepare a song, but I don't know if I have enough time. I mean, there's still everyone like Suni, Natsuki, Yasen to share.
Is it karaoke time? Is that it?
Okay, okay. It's I mean, my schedule is very full until the first half of next year, so I think it's not good for me, but it's what I have to do. I gotta do what to do, because for the past 2 years there's not much income, so this is the chance. Then I have to grab it. Also, importantly, also I will take care more of my health. It's we are not young anymore. Sorry to say that. Yes, but it's begin to show with the accumulated mental stress, and then it's also shown in different parts of the bodies. I stopped running the art space. Right now, I try to focus more on my own practice, and it's good that I can narrow down.
So you close your art space, or you pass to somebody to manage?
Yeah, my colleagues still running the space because we have to keep paying the rent, and then there's no discount on the rental fees. But I personally I suggest that we should kind of pause, and then we can reopen or we can move to other locations. Yeah, I mean I also try to create like hybrid piece and production, like performance in physical space, and then also connected to the digital space using VR. I mean, of course, still an early experiment. And then I've been try to work with astronaut or engineers, biologists. So I think for the past year, I've been in a lot of conversations with people from other discipline and practice, and I would see my work slowly kind of move towards try to understand what technology is affecting our life, and then what is the potential of these different types of technologies, biotech, AI, space tech. What does it mean for us to expand ourselves with this digital tools or digital worlds? We are merging ourselves into the digital world more and more, and then what do we become? And I mean, I have like 2 phone, 1 iPad, 1 MacBook, 1 like so smart, but I'm stupid. I couldn't read. I could not finish a book. I don't know why. Kind of my attention span was kind of diminished, and then I'm kind of sometimes I was, when I was very stressed, I was really addicted to the TikTok. Just keep going, keep searching for the dopamine to kind of feel myself in, and then also do the TikTok. Do you use ebook, Henry? I use, but I couldn't read ebook as well. I also do the TikTok from in China as well, and then I practice Chinese song from the TikTok, which is very corgi song. Yeah. Also, this one, the one that I opened, is also I got it from the TikTok as well. It's called Love Nyan Titi. I guess everyone have you heard of it?
Love you what?
Love Nyan Titi.
Love me
Love
NTT.
Nyan Titi.
NTT. Okay.
Nyan Titi.
Okay.
Are you going to play that song?
Yeah, because you email us to prepare a song for karaoke, so I prepared this song. I've been
Thank
singing
you.
like there is one part that I think everyone definitely can sing, because they just sing like only so it should be easy for everyone to follow
I
along.
can
But
do that.
you can do that. But okay, anyway, Suni, to you.
Okay. What I did this year so far is actually doing nothing. So I am not propose any. I just wait and see what happened, and that is quite interesting. And the interesting thing, okay, I can share what I really feel super happy and enjoy. So in August, I make my own stone. It's for exhibition, but I know actually it's not for the exhibition. It's just I want to make a stone, and I use flyer, I use carbon, I use every trash to form a stone. And at the end, it really like a stone. So I feel very poor happiness during creativity. And for me, it's a question. So why people create things, and why people create and showing things to other people? That is a big question. So why we do that? We also can compose a song and just sing for yourself, or something. Why we need that as human being? That is quite mysterious for me. And also something bother me is because I went hiking, but actually that is the art residency. Just the curator is quite cool, so he expect nothing. Artists do nothing besides stay 1 month. Yeah, really. So we asked him, so when is the exhibition and what do you want us to do? Maybe you want us to find a topic, do research in the tribe. And he said, no, I just want you to stay 1 month in the tribe. So it's really very simple. Like I went hiking for 9 hours, and it's very physical last. So without thinking anything, it's just I need to reach the house before sunset, and then eat, and then go to sleep at 7 p.m. really, and because I was so tired, I can't sleep at 7:30. Unbelievable. And wake up with sunrise 5 p.m. And yeah. And then I observed something. So because that is not just a tribe, they also it's a lot of tourists visit the tribe. Although the tribe have no power, no Wi-Fi, not at all. And I wonder why we need that much stuff. So somehow I feel this year all different kind of practices all around resource. For example, like I work with Hertong together, and she studied for petrochemical industry for years, and we put the focus in Kaohsiung. And for me, it's not just an ecosystem or eco problem. It's really about mentality. Because for me, it's very confused if we suffer from air pollution, especially in Kaohsiung, but our mentality won't stop. We always want to speed up. And what is that? So yeah, I'm still looking the different place, also myself. What is that? Yeah.
I support the idea of doing nothing.
Yeah. Really.
Yeah, Natsuki, do you want to share a little bit with us?
Actually, I have no idea for the next year, but I don't want to work so much next year, as much possible, because I still work hard, and it's a kind of project that was decided before the pandemic, and we try to fit the form or the content to the situation, the present situation, but it's still not enough, I think, and I need to figure out what I need to do next. So I want to make space, an emptiness for me, for myself. So I want to make the project like a platform, and I want to pass it to the local young artists more. So I don't want to do it anymore by myself. And I want to focus on my life so far. But I can travel abroad if it's possible to see each of you. Although I'm not vaccinated.
Yeah.
If it's okay, yeah.
Mm.
So far, I don't feel like I want to travel more to meet new people and new things so far, but I can go travel to see my friends in the world. It has a big value, important meaning for me.
Yeah. Yasen and Ange.
Should I go?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also like Henry. First half of next year is quite busy, and I'm going to redo this process that I told you about in Norway and in Malta and in Brussels. So it feels like really this pace of overproduction, and I find what Suni said about burnout society really relevant. And also I see how each and every one of you is saying, okay, we need to slow down, we need to rest more. And I joined this and by saying, yes, we need to maybe, I don't know, for me, this is really a topic of like, how do we stop participating in this competition with each other and this overproduction? So how do we kind of outwit the system that we get production money but don't do production, and we do research, or we do things that benefit us as a community? And how do we create like more, like less pressure to finish something, but more to go in depth and to create like horizontal processes which are more human, and where we work together and not kind of like against each other, or not for our individual gain. So this is something that I'm busy with, and I find dance to be like a really good medium where this sort of group dynamic can be explored, and where people can really kind of overcome their ego and individualism and just become part of a collective body, and how this body moves and how this body coordinates its decisions. To me, is super interesting topic that I want to explore in my future research and work. And another thing that I'm very, very busy with, or interested to kind of go deep in, is some sort of activism and advocacy about working conditions and infrastructure. And something that I didn't mention here, that, okay, we got a lot of money for production, but we don't have the infrastructure where to show this works. And actually spaces are closing down, but it's not a problem only locally here, but I think this how we're getting paid, how we're getting treated, is like a global problem in the arts world. And I started working on this discursive Zoom project with Flanders Arts Institute in Belgium, where they invited artists, curators, programmers to kind of really discuss how international collaboration can be a bit fairer in the future. And we're working now on something that I find very interesting, and I don't know if we're going to go through it and if we're going to finish it, but on a tool that will be some sort of negotiating tool, where when, for example, you are invited to do an exhibition or a performance and you get like the conditions are already non-negotiable, you can kind of depersonalize this and say, okay, look, this is like, I'm having this, it's like a letter signed by all these people, and you need to negotiate this with me, because it's not only about me, it's about the whole, art sector. And so we have like a list of signatories of people in positions of power and institutions who would sign this letter. That would be like a sort of tool to give you a little bit of power when you negotiate the working conditions, because it's so difficult when you are young or emerging artists to stand against an institution and fight for a little bit better conditions. So this is something I'm very interested in right now.
I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think about the question, what's next? I mean, of course, I can look at my calendar and understand that, but I'm trying to think about like, yeah, what that might mean. Or maybe perhaps that's my answer, is that like I know what my time is now like scheduled to be doing, and then the question about what's next is like, well, how to do all those things in a way that in a way that is valuable, I guess, beyond this kind of beyond this sort of very narrowing path to professionalization, but rather to kind of course, like I want to work in a professional sense and a professional field, and this is, you know, my artistic work is also my my income, so it makes a difference about how I can engage in the professional field as such. But I suppose I also want to carve out a space within that to do what I consider the serious work of of working hard at not just the opportunity to achieve things, but the opportunity to do all the things within those opportunities that are the enriching things, that are the kind of that are all the things that I think make art and artworks necessary in the world. I don't know if that made sense at all. It's a tough question. What's next?
I know. I personally cannot answer that.
That's why you asked us all to answer it, to try to get ideas.
Because you guys are more capable. Yeah, I do. I mean, yeah, this is like, yeah, I mean, I kind of like wonder what's next, or what happens next, or whatever next in the future, but I'm at the same time don't know how to see that. Yeah, so
somehow I feel like I know what's in my calendar, and so like the what is covered somehow, but like the how is the question, both because they're unrealized projects as yet, and also like the question becomes more about like, okay, well, if I am doing that, how do I want to do that, and how, like, yeah, to somehow navigate that space, and to sort of like, I don't know, dart in between the kind of what is expected in those projects to kind of uncover something that that feels like it's generative and exciting and yeah, valuable, and yeah, not just about delivering a project, but committing to the process, I suppose.
Yeah, in process. Indeed. We are now currently running over, not a bit, a quarter of time. And it's amazing that actually we are here across how many time zones? Sydney, Taiwan, Japan, Thai, Bangkok. And Batu's and Yasin's time zone and my time zone are also different.
Yeah.
Oh
wait, there was a list in the meeting. There was like a list of all of our time zones, but yeah, it's
yeah,
many.
it's crazy.
I have just in front of me the table, and it's 7 different time zones.
Yeah.
Yes. So who is in a drinking mood now?
It's noon here.
Yeah, so
I'm
you can.
close. That means
Yeah, it's noon. You can have your lunch soon. It's 9. It's 9.
I
It's
have
nearly
a
10 a.m. here. Mm.
I have like it's something that is not a news resolution, but is kind of like a immediate wish for the present, which is that like I'm like trying to send the wish through the time zones and through the Google Meet like link, but like I really wish that Batu would play the guitar that's behind him. I saw it
it has
in
no
the,
strings though, Angela.
Just
it has no
hit it.
strings.
Like just
The guitar has no strings. I
do
broke
the
them
Oh
all.
gosh, this is such
Just-
a well. This the whole thing has been a disappointment now. It's like the whole time I was looking at going like, is Batu going to play that guitar tonight?
Yeah, no.
make it like a percussion.
Yeah. I mean, it's a wish, so yeah. I'll give you some
okay.
sounds from the guitar.
Okay.
You
Thank
guys
you,
just
please.
go on. I'll give you the background music.
Yeah. Okay. While. Oh. Okay. Also, you mean. Oh, you mean that, right? Okay.
This guitar that's behind here, but without strings. I mean, but I'm sure that there's like a creative way to play.
Okay. I'll yeah. Okay. I play the music from Batu.
No, guys, you guys go on. Just talk. I just wanna. I mean, realize Angela's wish so that I. Technically, I'm playing it.
It's beautiful.
All right. Yeah, I wanna say thank you to all of you, and it's really nice catching up across in 7 time zone altogether. That's amazing. Yeah,
Thank you for the opportunity, guys. Yeah, it was lovely.
yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, it's really rich knowing all those information
Hmm.
and the situations here and there. Yeah. So now I wish you Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Um,
Take care, everybody.
yeah.
Thank you, River, for bringing us together.
Yeah, it was nice seeing you all, guys. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, River. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, hello.
Arigato.
1、2、3、ありがとう。あ
Bye.
りのすけ。
Yeah, take care.
Bye bye.
Hopefully, see you soon.
Yeah.
Yes, see you all soon.